I am pleased to announce our guest speaker, Ebenezer Isaac. He's the founder of Benares Technology, who's a Canadian information technology consulting company, which was founded in 2011. So Benares Technology provides system integration and manages IT and business processes and consulting, among all the other services they provide. Ebenezer tends to consult independently for an American company as a principal software engineer. In that particular role, he's responsible for delivering services such as web applications, system design and integrations. He's also part of an Agile team with a large multinational organization. He is driven and a dedicated professional with a unique combination of business and technical skills, which allows him to have the offering of business development with technical applications as a team player who can also function collectively and independently. In addition to that, Ebenezer provides mentoring and coaching to aspiring professionals with an interest in the IT field. He's happily married, blessed with 2 wonderful children, and the days where he's not coding, he's playing piano or working in his ravine lot backyard. I would love to come to the ravine. Hopefully you have fish, but we'll talk about that later. So with no further ado, Ebenezer, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you very much. So as long as you're not afraid of the coyotes, you're very welcome.
I'm not afraid. I'm bigger than a coyote.
There's a few of them in my backyard. Every night you hear them fighting for food. So anyways. All right, guys, thank you very much again for giving me the opportunity to be part of this meeting. It's a great pleasure to be here. Thank you. So you want to be a software engineer. I think before we continue, can I get a feel of how many people are familiar with the space, software engineering? So maybe you might want to give me a yay or nay in the chat. Just use the Zoom thumbs up that you know software engineering.
Yep, I'm pretty familiar.
Okay, so just okay, awesome. So, well, anyways, if you're familiar, most likely you know what I'm about to say, and if you're not, hopefully you can follow along and you can switch from that high-paying engineer to software engineer. So let's continue. All right, a little bit about me. So I'm in Mississauga. I live in Mississauga. But I started my athlete journey from a country dubbed the Giant of Africa, right? As some of you may know. So my academics, I did a computer science degree at West Coast University in Ontario. I think it's University of Windsor. And I also did a lot of learning videos to get to where I am today. So where did I start from? I started my software engineer in 2009. That's where I really get my hands on, even though I've been doing that in the past, even in high school. Back then, I would do 1 or 2 things with the computer code or whatnot. So what are my past experience? Well, no, I'm not an experienced dishwasher, but I do have some experience there working in Wonderland and whatnot. But I have worked on various projects with many companies and with different companies that are probably too much to list here. So, and then what are my motivation? You know, I really like influencing others to succeed. You know, I love watching people succeed, and that's my motivation, which also in turn gives me motivation, right? So what are my favorite, what is my favorite hobby? Music, as you can tell. I mean, I'm a music guy. I love making music. I love creating music. And from what Andrea said earlier, I play the piano, and it's been my lifeline. Like someone said, it says music is the soul of a man. Anyways, just a little bit about me. So let's move on. So to be or not to be. So what does it mean? So by the way, this picture is Shakespeare, some of you may know. So let me tell you a little bit story about what this means. So to be or not to be. Initially, I wanted to be a pilot, like right from my childhood. I'll dream about, riding in planes. Actually, as a matter of fact, I go to the airport watching planes take off. Like it's been my lifelong dream to be a pilot. Like I will always dream of, riding a jet one day, or maybe in a plane one day, of being a pilot. So, but anyways, fast forward a couple of years. So a couple of years back, my wife just hit me up, say, okay, hey babe, let's go for a helicopter ride. Maybe you don't give up on your dream. You can still be a pilot. So we book a helicopter ride downtown. You may know that as well. I ride at the helipad. So actually, on the side note, that day we had a disagreement. But because we were going on a helicopter ride, we had to make amends because you never know what's going to happen, right? But anyways, so we got into the helicopter ride. So we took off, and guess what happened? I froze. I was screaming at the top of my lungs. I was tapping the pilot. I was shaking him like, hey, let's get down, hey, sir, let's get down. But anyways, it turns out I was this guy, right? And like a guy who wants to be a pilot, right? I'm afraid of heights. So imagine what that would have been. So, so I was this guy. I was afraid of heights. So, but anyways, I glad I didn't take that route. I wonder what that would have been. Maybe I would have overcome my fears, or maybe I would have booted out of a pilot school or whatnot. Hey, but anyways, I became a software engineer. So what's my journey as a software engineer? So in 2010, was the year of initiation. I call it the year of initiation because that's really when I exploded not exploded. I mean, that's when I really get my hands on what software engineering is, right? And that's when I started my first real work as a business analyst. Well, when I started as a business analyst, it was more like a glorified data entry job. But anyways, I took it anyways. So let's just say something happened. I left that business analyst position. So by the way, what I'm about to say tonight, don't take it as a way of what you should be doing or the kind of courses you should be taking or the guide. I personally believe that everyone's path is different, regardless of their background, and how you get your first software engineering job or whatnot, it's going to be different, right? So the motivation, why did I become a software engineer? Well, first of all, I think machines are obedient, right? Try telling Andrea or somebody else to manage your calendar for you. Good luck. But anyways, on a serious note though, so I have always been fascinated by how you can give a set of instructions to a computer and then it can obey. You can write a set of code and tell the computer to execute, and boom, voila, you got what you wanted, right? So then I'm a guy that I love troubleshooting. Like I like to dig into issues. And I think which is some of the skill sets you need to become a software engineer. I like to dig into issues until you know what the root cause are. And then again, I like working with human beings. Like I like working with people. I like collaborating. And in software engineering, you're gonna have to collaborate with a lot of dev guys a lot. Like I like working with like-minded folks, and solving complex issues. And besides, hey, it pays well, right? So the becoming, how do you become a software engineer? So from my perspective, I think there's 4 things you need. You need the ability to apply logic to problems. And I think you need to think in the abstract. Again, I think you also need to be able to continuously learn. And then I think you also need the ability to accept and learn from failure. To become a software engineer. I think you need that trait. So, but anyway, so the first one you need, I think you need to pick one. So again, you need to pick your battles, right? So there are different kinds of software engineer out there. As you can see on the slides, you have the front-end engineers, the back-end engineers, the testers, the security guys, the DevOps, like the development of operations, like some of you may know, the full stack as well. So I'm just going to talk a little bit what these types are. So the front-end engineers, So these guys are the guys that specialize in the UI stuff, do the fancy stuff with the buttons, make something displays really nice in the UI, making sure what displays in Chrome displays well in Firefox. Don't even talk about Internet Explorer. No, that's dead anyways. So, but anyways, these are the fancy guy, do stuff in the UI, writing HTML code and all kind of JavaScript framework. So, and then the backend engineers, these are the guys that work on complex issues, making sure the app is scalable, solving complex problems, making sure they can provide data to the front end guys, So, and then the full stack. So these guys are like the combination of both front end and back end. And that's where I fall into, and that's what my skill set are. And the quality assurance guys, which are the testers. So these guys are the guys that are responsible for making sure the app that you've built, it's working as designed, or the app is acceptable to what is being specified, the acceptable criteria. So sometimes these guys may write some scripts, sometimes they don't, but they're just there to ensure that the app is doing what it's supposed to do. And then the security guys, these are the guys that are finding loopholes in the app, making sure there's no data breach, or maybe making sure you're not exposing what you're not supposed to expose, all kind of security stuff. These are the guys that are looking for the black hat guys. I guess technically you can call them the white hat guys, right? So, and then the DevOps, the development operations, they call them. So these are the guys that comes up with tools, I guess, to aid the software engineers in deploying the apps. So these guys could be the guys working on platforms like cloud technologies, infrastructure, just making sure everything runs smoothly in the software world. So I think the second thing, becoming a software engineer, I think many people have the notion that you need to have a degree. I can assure you, I can tell you today from my experience, degree are nice, but it is not required. So you don't need a computer science degree to become a software engineer. Actually, as a matter of fact, I know a close friend and associate right now who are working who don't have computer science degree. So don't get me wrong, I'm not writing off a university degree in what way or whatnot. It's good to have. It provides a basic foundation to becoming a really good engineer. But I'm just telling you, you don't really need a degree to become a software engineer. And then the third thing, starting from zero to hero. So what does that mean? I think what you mean is you need to pick a direction. So like I mentioned earlier, there are different kinds of software engineering. So you don't want to be jack of all trades. So pick a direction, set a pace, and then commit to it. Don't be intimidated by anything, don't be intimidated by the complexity of becoming one. So I really believe anyone can code. So, and then what's the fourth thing? I think one of this thing is, it's very underrated. It's do it yourself. Becoming a software engineer means you have to, like I mentioned earlier, be able to self-learn. This is a rapid changing environment that you have to be able to keep yourself up to date without anybody being dependent on anybody, rather. Start practicing coding from the comfort of your home, getting your hands dirty on projects and whatnot. It's going to allow you to sharpen your skills. And then once you're comfortable in the space, then you reach out to friends and families in the community. Maybe you have a friend or a brother or who has a business, or maybe a church community or whatever you call your community. Just ask them, okay, for example, say you want to be a front-end engineer, you might talk to them and say, okay, let me build your website for free, right? That's how you become one, and then you can sort of gauge your level. And at the same time, you're gaining experience without the intimidating factor, right? So nobody's holding you off. Hey, you didn't do this job well. Nobody's paying you. And besides, who doesn't like anything free, right? So I even doing it yourself, as a matter of fact, the many tech companies right now, actually the top 6 or the top 5 companies right now started from the garage. Hey, you never know, maybe if you jump now, started now, that may be you, right? Anyway, so the fifth thing, I guess, from my perspective is attending coding conferences. This is how you become one as well. Like, for example, attend conferences. It's something like what we're doing tonight, maybe in a software space. It's a great way to network and meet like-minded folks. You get a lot of valuable information from it. You get to know what the latest tech stacks are, what companies are using, and so many things like that, right? As a matter of fact, how many people remember MySpace? Give me a year or nay in the chat if you remember MySpace. So MySpace, they're like, it's probably history right now. So that's the way I think software engineering is. If you don't update yourself, you're probably going to get outdated really, really quick. So you have to do these things to be relevant. So, and then one other thing I think you need to do to become one is certifications. So remember how I said you don't need a degree? Well, you have to back it up in a way, right? So this is how you can do it, certifications. And by the way, this certifications is different from certifications from other professions. You have the accountant, sorry, I'm not dissing anyone here, like the lawyers and whatnot, the PPMP, the HST, GST, whatever you call them, or the PP stuff, right? So anyways, but that's not how it works in the software engineering work, because certifications can get really outdated really quickly. If you might take a certification last year and then you find out next year it's out of date. So you have to keep going. But anyway, certifications give you a way to validate your skills and ability. So that's one thing you can do as well to become a software engineer. And then one more thing I didn't put on the slide here, it's I think you need to be resilient, because becoming a software engineer can be challenging and can be a difficult process, as some of you may know. But with resiliency, I think you can succeed. Don't be intimidated by giving up. You find it difficult when you started or whatnot. Don't give up. That's normal. That's part of the process. Becoming a software engineer requires you to assimilate completely a different way of thinking. You have to have a different set of way of thinking. You can't just think the normal way and think you can succeed, right? So that's what it takes. And these are some of the 6 basic ways you can become one. There's so many other ways you can go about it, but from my perspective, I think this is how you can do it. Bootstrapping. And speaking of certification programs, so remember I said you don't need a degree. This is how you can go about it. Bootstrapping. Do not underestimate the power of bootstrapping. It is very crucial. Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
So it is very crucial. Like, if you don't have a degree, how you want to become a software engineer? Say, for example, you crossing from as a nurse or a lawyer, whatever, you want to become a software engineer, you're switching your career. I mean, I don't expect you to go to a 4-year degree. Well, if you have the time and the money, sure. But I wouldn't expect someone to go to a 4-year degree just because they want to switch a career to software engineering, right? So take online courses, right? Take online courses. So sign up for code camps, take certification programs, right? So technology. Anyways. So what I was saying is so the power of bootstrapping, right? So if you don't have a degree, this is one way you can go about it to becoming one. So next slide. So what are some of the online courses you can take to become a software engineer? I mean, like, there's so many online courses you can take. There's so many resources out there to becoming a software engineering. But the question is, how do you pick one that's right for you? I think really it depends on you. It depends on your pace. It depends on your learning styles. You can enroll yourself in a self-paced course. For example, maybe you're doing some other things. You're working somewhere else, or you're thinking of becoming a software engineer, but you really don't have the time. You can enroll yourself in the self-learning pace classes. And then maybe you have the time on your hands. So you really want to become a software engineer right away. And then you can take the more structured classes or the more structured courses. But what that means is that that's going to require your time, and your commitment. So, and then one thing I would say is you want to avoid courses or programs that promises a high-paying salary right after you finish. Most of the time, I think what those organizations usually do, it's their marketing schemes, to make you sign up for the courses of the programs, and then you pay, and then bye-bye, off you go, right? And then again, another thing you can do is the boot camps, the coding camps. This is some of the way you can approach it as well. So from my opinion, I think if you really want to become a software engineer, say you don't have a computer science degree, you're switching over from a different field, I think boot camp is the way to go. They're intense, and then they teach you real life skills, real life scenario, real life principles that you can apply. But the downside of this is that it can tend to be pricey. But if you compare that to how much you would have spent with the 4-year computer science degree, I think it's still cheaper. So it can be comprehensive again, and it's going to require a commitment. So if you're going to go the boot camp route, so definitely you have to commit your time. It's not something you can do maybe while doing something else, right? As a matter of fact, I have a coworker right now who we're working together that was working as a data analyst, and then he switched over using the code camp route. Within 6 months, he was done, and he's now a level 3 engineer. So, and he's a good one too, as a matter of fact, too, right? So he started level 1, got a promotion level 2, and then he's a level 3 engineer. So this was one way you can approach it. Certifications, right? So okay, you've determined, okay, you want to become a software engineer. You determine the route you want to take. Maybe you want to become a front-end engineer or a back-end engineer or full stack, whatever you decided, right? So you want to find a certification in that field. Like you want to be certified, you want to enhance your skills. What's that going to do to you is that it's going to give you validation with professional organization. There are still some companies out there, Cisco, for example, they will ask you for certifications. Like that's how they validate your skill, and that's how they validate your ability, right? And also some professional body in the software world also ask for certifications. So you can get certified in whatever program you choose. For example, so you choose to become a front-end engineer. Maybe you might want to look into some design principles certification, or maybe you choose to be a back-end engineer. Then maybe you might want to look into, some Java certification, right? Or maybe cloud technology certification. There's Google certifications, there's AWS, there's all kind of certification out there. So just pick the one that's right for you and the one that's match the what you want to do. So, okay, you've chosen to become a software engineer. You've taken the code camps, you've taken the classes, you've done the certifications. Here comes the experience. How do you get the experience, right? And which a lot of companies are going to ask you. In my opinion, I think these are some of the ways you can get the experience. For example, I think you can start right from the comfort of your home. I can't stress that enough. Like gain experience from your own space. Don't wait for others. Don't go, looking for what's not there, what not to get experience. You can gain experience from your space. And how do you do that? You work on personal projects. Like, again, I mentioned earlier, you can choose to serve your community by showcasing your skill. Maybe build a website for your church, or build a website for your uncle who has a business somewhere, right? And then you can gain experience without the intimidating factor. You can get constructive feedback from there. If he likes it, if he doesn't like it, he's going to let you know in a fun, loving way or whatever, right? And then you don't have to worry about, oh, I'm getting paid for this. This is the wrong thing or whatnot, right? So, and then one of the things you can do is accept like local gigs, like accept local job. It goes along with what I said about, doing stuff for the community. Find people who want to do stuff and accept it and just do, basically working for free, like volunteer your service. And then one other thing you can do is join open source community. Like there's a tons of open source software community out there. I'm sure many of us right now are probably even using some free software in one way or the other, and those softwares are free. So if you like some of the features in the software, you can, as a software engineer, you can just hop online, find where the code base is or who the moderators are for the software, and then start contributing. What's that going to do is that It's going to help you to see how some of the stuff is structured, how software works in real life, how some engineers structure their code. By that, you can gain experience. So when you actually sit in front of an engineering manager for an interview, you know what you're talking about, right? And then you can pursue the project and opportunities you can learn from, pursue projects that you can grow from. So those are the kind of stuff you should be looking at when getting your experience. And to be candid, I think you can gain real life experience without ever working for a company as a software engineer. And that's the truth. And that's where some of us probably here nowadays, 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds starting a company and getting Silicon Valley valuation or whatnot, right? And as a matter of fact, there's a new guy on the block, 22-year-old now, so scale.com or something. Company is worth 7 point something billion right now, right? So, hey, so you can gain valuable experience from the comfort of your space. So what are the resources that you can use? So I've tried some of these ones, the ones spotlight on the left. So Coursera is a good one. I mean, the quality is really high. Some of the courses are even taught by the Google engineers. And also you get a certificate that's recognized by some of the major tech companies. Udemy as well is also a good one. I think they are one of the early startups in the space of learning or whatnot. I mean, I'm not talking about I call them the fake universities online now, not that kind, right? So, but this ones that they have plenty of software engineering class, even the ones that are not taught in universities. I've went through some of them and I think they can be a good resource. And as well, Linda is also a good resource. So I think Linda is now owned by LinkedIn Learning. So they have plenty of resources there as well. And also when you finish your class, there are some courses. Because it's owned by LinkedIn, you can integrate and showcase some of the stuff you've done in Linda, on your LinkedIn profile, for example, if you have one, right? So some of the other ones worth mentioning is a Code Academy, Pluralsight, Skillshare, edX, Treehouse, Team Treehouse to call them, not the children's Treehouse, by the way. This is Team Treehouse. Yeah. So coding resource. So you've become a coding, you're familiar with the space, you're getting the practice, you're working with the community, you're volunteering your services or whatnot, and then you're contributing to open source community. So this is some of the resources as a developer, as a software engineer that you can use. Stack Overflow is one big one. As a matter of fact, I think some of the engineers in the room can speak for it as well. If you're a DevOps engineer, whatever it is, software, Stack Overflow is the go-to. That's where you get your questions answers. Maybe you're working on a complex problems that you've been trying to figure out for the past couple of hours or days even. This is the go-to platform to go. You just go in, post your questions, ask questions, and then you get experienced quality engineers around the world answering questions, right? They can help you out. And then maybe when you gain your own experience, you can even go there and contribute back to the community too as well, answering questions. And then Code Wars is a good resource for somebody that's starting out, maybe for your junior developers, even for a senior developer as well. Like Code War is a really good space. You can practice your skills and sharpen your skills. They have all sorts of programming language you can choose from. Git, you remember I was actually on the previous slide, there's a part that says you can showcase your work. So Git is how you do that. This is where you store your source code. You've done your project for the community or you've done that fancy stuff for your personal project. So you want to showcase your work. So how do you do that? You store your source code in an open source repository. Like GitHub is a popular one, for example. There's other ones like the Bitbucket and GitLab, but GitHub is the popular one. So just store your stuff there and then send out to the community, friends who are in the space, ask them to review your code. Or maybe someone, it could be a company, but somebody working in that company, just send them your source code and see and ask them what do they think, right? So CodePen is also a scratch pad you can use as a developer, going along, maybe you want to get that idea down, see how stuff work. You just go to CodePen, quickly whip up something. And then And some of the tools I use as well as a software is the Visual Studio Code. There's a bunch of them, but these are some of my favorite that I use. I mean, you can check them out as well. This is some of the resource for a software engineer. So let's say, for example, okay, you've done that fancy application, you've built a community website or whatnot. So you're gonna have to deploy that app somewhere, right? So that's where the platform as a service come in place, the PaaS. I know the DevOps guys will know what I'm talking about now. So you're gonna have to deploy that somewhere. So, but that's another topic for another time. So that's another. So the resources, remember this engineering space or software engineering space, it's rapidly changing. You have to keep yourself up to date, otherwise you become irrelevant or you're out of date, so to say. So some of the ways you can do that to keep up to date, again, is to follow social media trend. I know a lot of engineers love Twitter. It's one big social media. You probably won't find a lot of engineers on other platform, but you will see them on Twitter, like myself. So Hacker News is one resource as well. I can't stress this one enough. The tech conferences and Meetup. As a software engineer, you want to make it the go-to thing to do. You know, there are abundant tech conferences out there. You know, what usually happens is that many companies will host their own tech conferences. You know, there's so many of them. The Google does their own stuff, you know, Facebook, and even the local ones like the ones we're doing tonight, right? So you want to attend tech conferences. It's very important as a software engineer to do that. And then one other thing, you know, to keeping up to date is to review people's code. Maybe, for example, there's a latest open source software in town, and there's a lot of engineering folks using it in many companies. So you want to go to that code repository and see what's going on in there, see what kind of technologies they're using, see how the code is structured, right? So you want to go there and review that code and see what's going on. So that's how you can keep yourself up to date and being relevant in what's going on in the software engineering space. Consulting. Okay. So how did I become an IC, independent consultant or contractor, some would say? You know, remember I mentioned earlier as a business analyst at the financial company. Well, I wasn't sure what I was analyzing, to be honest. So, but anyways, let's just say something happened. Well, somebody in the team might know what happened, but let's just say something happened. I got called to the board or whatever. I left the company. So end of story. So after that, I joined a startup company, you know, and it is during my tenure at this startup company that my eyes really opened, like what I really wanted to do with my life, and that's becoming a software engineer. So it is during this time I saw a lot of how the company is being run. You know, the CEO at the time, free guy, just come in, you know, sometimes in a hoodie or whatever. It's just like, hey, what's going on? You know, it wasn't as strict as the environment I was coming from, the financial company, whereby you have to run to the meeting board at 8 a.m. or whatever. It's just, you know, it's so tense. But joining the startup company, it's so free, so easy. And then that really got me. So I was like, okay, I said to myself, well, you know what? If these guys can do it in this way, I think I can start something. I can start doing something, you know. So that's where the idea of Benaris was born. That's where the idea of becoming an independent consultant was born. And a few months after that, I registered my company, which is Benaris. So becoming an independent contractor comes with a risk, as you may know. There's risks with becoming a contractor. You know, one of the major thing is like no work, no pay. Like, like you're your own employee. If you don't work, you don't get paid, right? So, and then job security. There is no job security. You can say bye-bye to that. You know, as an IC, you know, you can get caught at any time. You know, you can get caught like, oh, okay, we're sorry, we no longer need the service. You know, severance pay doesn't exist in this world. Like, you know, sometimes you get, you know, some people call to the office, okay, I'm sorry, we don't need you, but then they give them some couple of benefits and bonus, even sometimes lasting them for more than a year, right? But as an independent contractor, that does not exist. Again, you are liable for things. Health is wealth. If you lose your health, God forbid, that's the end, right? So this is some of the risk with being IC. And then you don't get the employer benefits like the full-time guys does, right? There is no advancement. You don't get that career advancement you get as a full-time. So those are some of the risks I found as a independent contractor. But let me tell you this is not to make you afraid of becoming an independent contractor. This is just tell you that there is risk, but it's also rewarding. And I believe that the reward outweighs the risk. So what are the perks? Earn high, pay low. It's, to be honest, as an IC and a software engineer, it pays high. I can tell you, even from my experience right now, if you have someone who is doing the same thing, the same job, the same position, there's chances that you will get paid a lot higher than the full-time employee. So it is rewarding. And then you may even end up paying low taxes, right? If you play your cards right. I'm not sure how many people read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. It talks about the power of incorporation. You can check that out. You have it's amazing, the power of incorporation. So anyways, that can help you in your journey as an independent contractor in software engineering. And then you're your own boss, right? You usually set your pace, usually set your own terms and conditions and your own working conditions. But that doesn't mean that you won't report to a higher manager, or you don't have a team lead or whatnot as an IC. No, it doesn't mean that. But it just means that you get to set your own pace. There are some rules, I think, even lawfully that applies to contractor that doesn't apply to full-time and vice versa, right? So, and then one of the major thing I think at the perks is that you become knowledgeable, like you become more like the expert in the field. Like you become really versatile in the field of becoming an IC, because what that happens is that you work with so many contractors or clients or employees or employers rather, and all of them have different technological stack. They have a different setup. And as an IC, you get to see these things and solve some of these issues and solve some of the complex problems they may face, right? So, and most of the time when job postings are out there, you tend to be a good fit. I can not emphasize or tell you how many calls I get on a daily basis about people trying to handhold me for another company, or people trying to call me to join their company. As a matter of fact, last week I did 2 interviews and just for fun. And then I'm sorry, I have to back out. I wasn't looking for a job. But then they kept sending an email that, can I just proceed, with this thing and whatnot? But anyways, that's what that gives you. So the perks definitely outweighs the risk. So don't be afraid of being an IC in software engineering. It is definitely worth it. So what are the lessons learned? So the big thing from what I learned personally is you must know your worth. Like that is very, very, very important. You must know your worth. If you don't know your worth, there's chances that you will get undervalued or you get underpaid, right? So as a software engineer or independent contractor in this space, you have to know what the value of your skills are. You have to put the value and money on what your skills are worth, right? And don't be afraid to brag, or don't be afraid to showcase your skills. I mean, this is a professional world, right? And then one thing I learned as well is say yes to everything. I mean, really, say yes to it, even if you don't know. If you don't know have a clue what that is, like to the project you're going to be working on. And I can tell you the fact that is a lot of people don't know what the heck they're doing. They have no clue what they're doing. So, but the chances are you'll find someone in the space who are like-minded that's going to be able to help out, right? And then one thing is also to do to make sure you have a structured plan. That's very crucial for success. You need to have a structured plan as an IC, as an independent contractor. Like freestyling doesn't work. Whatever you want to do as an IC, it must be structured. Like from meeting people or to getting that contract and whatnot, it has to be structured. Even from doing your own accounting or your payments and all that stuff, it needs to be structured. Otherwise, you run into a lot of problems down the road. And then one last thing is time management is very important. So you must know how to manage your time. There is boundaries, having that work-life balance. As an IC, I usually tend not to be there, right? You're going to work around the clock. Oh, this is due. I need to do this. And because sometimes you're also working for multiple employers, right? For multiple clients. So you have to keep up with deadlines. So you need to do this, you need to do that. So most of the time, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., you're still working. But so time management skills is a must. Even if you have to take a course on that, I think it's way worth it to be to take and to be an IC. So and with that, I think so that's a wrap of my own little opinion of being a software engineer. So by the way, something worth mentioning is a company I'm working with right now. They are hiring senior, junior, and medium software engineer. So if you want to be, maybe you want to switch into the space, or you are already in the space and looking for something, you can link me up. I can send your resume or whatnot to the hiring manager directly, or I can put in the chat right after this the company name, so you can check them out on LinkedIn. They have various job posting everywhere, so maybe you can apply yourself. But if you send it to me, I can link you up directly with the hiring managers. There's a lot of head space that needs to be filled right now, like counting over 20 software engineers that need to be filled. So yeah. And then you can find me on Twitter, on LinkedIn if you want to connect. Thank you.
Awesome. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much
Awesome.
for I don't even know what to say. Like I wrote down so many questions. I feel like maybe I should become a software engineer now and just give up being an agile coach.
You know?
But just want to just give you.
I do know somebody who's an agile coach, is also a software engineer now, level 2.
See, there you go. I just want to say a really big thank you. I mean, it's not easy to take away time from your family to come and educate us about what it means and what that journey looks like and the different tips and tricks that you've given. I believe that we've been able to get something that not a lot of people get in such a compressed and concise manner. So again, thank you so much. We're going to open it up now for Q&A. So if you just joined recently, don't worry. Did you miss out? Of course you did, but not completely. You'll be able to see the rebroadcast of this particular meetup on our YouTube page. Again, it's Agile GTA on YouTube. It's going to come out by Sunday evening. And if you're here and you have a question, I'm going to say put it in the chat, or feel free to come off of mute and go ahead and ask your question. If not, then I will start. So I'm going to pause now and let the audience speak. While we're waiting for people to formulate your questions, I have a question for you. So you, obviously being a software engineer, a full stack developer, you are in the Agile space.
Yeah.
What do you find is the constant, regardless of which organization you're working with, when you're working in different Agile spaces? Because as you know, one company does Agile different from another company, but your role remains the same. What do you say? What kind of tips would you give? What do you say is the biggest constant of your benefit from being Agile?
So I think the constant stuff for me will be teamwork. I think that's very important to have in any space or any environment or any company you work for. You have to have that team mindset. Otherwise, that's very crucial for your success in that role. If you're the type like, okay, you got the task and then okay, I'm just going to do this on my own. It really doesn't work, because most of the time you realize that you're dependent on somebody for something. So in essence, I think the team mindset is it's the constant thing I've always seen in any environment space I've been.
Awesome, that's great. So that means you're not going to be writing ones and zeros in code in your jogging pants in your basement alone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You have to like people, guys.
Yeah. And besides, the team thing is really crucial, because if you look at some of the Silicon Valley stories right now, you see the trend that it's co-workers who are starting these big foundations. This yeah, I'm sure maybe you guys can check it out. They call them the paper mafia. Check out the story or the video around that. Like some of them are co-workers, teamwork, and friends who started big companies, right? So that team collaboration, team mindset is very important to succeed in software engineering world, right? No team can your co-worker, whatever, can even help you solve or the idea, or even help you start the idea you have and then become your business, right? So
Cool. I just want to give the audience a chance to ask any questions. If not, I'm going to go through my list.
Hi, can I just
Yeah, please.
um I just wanted to say thanks for the you know information that you've been giving. I've not been able to stay right on camera because I'm just coding as well from my desk.
there you go.
Right.
There you go.
So I'm just trying. It's a bit difficult. I'm trying to multitask. So currently enrolled in a coding boot camp.
There you go.
Um, I just wanted to ask one question. Like, what do you consider to be your most difficult challenge as a software engineer, like uh, right now?
So I think one of my difficult challenge is right now I'm getting over it is assimilation. So like it's that logical mindset. You have to have that logical mindset. It's a very complex task. They can give you an abstract task. Okay, this is what we're expecting, or this is what the acceptable criteria may be. As our agile coaches might know when you're doing your scrum, whatever you're planning on your board or whatnot, sometimes you get lost in that space as software engineer. Okay, what should I be doing? So you really have to have that ability to to be able to think logically, to solve complex issues. And I think that's where the challenges are. And I also think that's where many people fail and drop out being a software engineer. Right?
So, like, how do you? What's your solution for that? How do you solve that challenge?
Again, read books. Don't underestimate the power of collaboration. Ask people who are like-minded in that space, who are seniors. So you want to become friends with senior software engineers, join open source community or join space like this one, what we're doing tonight. You find people who are in that space, link them up and say, hey, I'm a software engineer. Tell them, be honest what your level are. Don't have that. I guess it's common in software engineering, they call them inferiority complex or whatever. So, take that off and then say, okay, this is what my level is, and this is what I need to do, and this is where I'm hoping to get, right, to get at. So,
Thank you, thank you.
no worries.
So don't be shy. Ask your questions. Okay, while we're waiting, you were talking about not fintech, sorry, you were talking about certifications. And I guess a lot of people, despite the fact that they get, due to free experience, they get their certifications, because it wasn't like at a university, they have this imposter syndrome that tends to start to creep in.
Yeah.
Can you give people some, and this is universal, right? Everybody has a level of imposter syndrome, no matter what it is you're pursuing. What is some advice that you can give us to overcome that?
That's a difficult one. I'm still figuring it out myself. Like it's something that every engineering folks or in every engineering guy does overcome. Again, I think you just have to be yourself and be free, right? Like that's just my own opinion. Like you just have to be yourself and be free. Like do not worry, especially from my background, do not worry about what other people might think of what your code is or what your work is, or as long as you're solid in your mindset, your work would speak for itself, right? So yeah.
Cool. And my next follow-up to that is, what can you tell us a little bit about the interview process? Obviously, as an independent consultant, people have to meet you. They want to know, are you going to fit in the company culture? Can they trust you? It's not just, okay, this is your work and this is your price and we're going to hire you. So there's obviously more to it. What are some of the common interview questions you probably get? Is there any insight you can give us so that it helps to prepare people that are pursuing this type of journey?
So in software world, I guess the interview, it's more structured, so to say. So it's not like the regular one where you just ask you questions, tell me about yourself and things like that. The first thing I think usually happens is coding test. So you usually have to take a code test that they send you some problems, issues to solve, and then you have to go home and write some code, or even sometimes it could be on the spot. So at that point, you really do need to prepare. You need to know your stuff, like if it's data structures and algorithms, or if it's whatever it is that you find yourself working on. So you really need to know your stuff. That's what the basic is. And then the second part is the character stuff, like, how you can work well with people, how do you work well in an agile environment and things like that, right? And also you need to have that agile mindset, of course, as a software engineer, because you need to be able to work with other engineers. So those are the things, I think, the two basic things you just need to prepare. But the first thing is you need to know your stuff. Again, I mentioned in the other slides, tools and resources you can use to sharpen your skills. It comes down to your skills, and that's what software engineering is. You have so many software engineers, I mean, sorry to say, like, who, I mean, they're introverts or whatnot, they may be extrovert. No, that's really not a deterring factor. It doesn't stop them from getting the job. It's really what gets you the job is your skills.
Awesome, thank you.
No worries.
Feel free to ask questions, guys. And I just want to put out there as well, when we were mentioning like doing free work for your community and so forth. If you are pursuing becoming a developer, whether front end, full stack, back end, check out Faith Tech. It's an organization that likes to help the community. They're based out of Waterloo in Toronto, so they're very local, and they always have projects happening. Like they're helping us underprivileged school or whatever it is, and you can go ahead and join them, and they will place you on a project so you can actually get that real life experience.
Yeah.
All right, I saw some people unmute. Please feel free to ask your question.
Yeah, so sorry, I'm still driving. Back on the certifications, the guy that had took the 6-month camp and then went to a level 3 software engineer, how long had he been in the game or in this as a level 1 or level 2 before he either was able to take that step or make that step?
So I'm having trouble hearing you, but I think this is why I pick up on your question. You can tell me if it's wrong or not. So how long did the guy took to become a level 3, and how long it took to get the promotion, right? Is that what you're asking, Shannon? Anyways, I'm going to answer based on what I just said. But if not, you can ask again, Shannon, and I can answer. So the guy who took the 6-month certificate boot camp, so he's been with the company now 3 years. I think it might just drop. But anyways, I'll answer for the sake of the other folks. So the guy's been with the company for 3 years now. So he did a 6-month boot camp, and then he came in as a engineering level 0, which is the same thing as level 1 anyways. So after 10 months, he got a promotion to become a level 2. And then another 1 year or so, then it became a level 3. So that's where he's at right now. Actually, I know of a lady who just joined the company 10 months ago as a level 1. Now she's a level 2. Again, it depends on your skills. If you have the ability to quickly learn stuff and assimilate stuff, you get to move up really quickly. Like I said, software world is your skills. And that's why character usually come after. But in some company or some organization, is your character they see first, and then your work, right? When in the software world, you could be in the dungeon coding stuff. It is your code that's going to speak for you. And then when you end up meeting that person, you're like, oh, wait a minute, oh, this guy is different. What kind of guy is this, right? But anyways, it's your skills that matters.
So hopefully we're able to answer those questions.
Yes, perfectly. Thank you so much.
Awesome, no problem. Anyone else? Anything on your minds?
I just wanted to say, now software engineering doesn't feel any more like Greek. It kind of, after today's, session, as a project manager, I kind of have some good grasp on it, but it's been a really interesting talk so far. So thank you so much. Appreciate it.
I think for my last question, before, because I'm recognizing everybody's time, we kids still have school tomorrow and everything. What makes you stay as a consultant? Is it the money that's the driver? Is it the variety of work? Why are you not a permanent employee?
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, I think for me, to be diplomatic, I'd say it's the knowledge, becoming the expert. But to be candid, it's the money. It's the
so the money is good, guys. Take the chance.
Yes, that's the real honest truth. Otherwise, I would have become a full-time. I've been offered many times and working with different employers, and then they want to offer me full-time. But when I did my analysis and the conversion, if I become a full-time, the benefit and the bonus is still not up to what I would be getting as an independent contractor. So, and then you don't have to, sorry to say for anybody out there, you don't have to wait every year and asking for the $2 raise or $3, whatever. No, as an IC, you set your own rate. You see what other people are doing out there. That's why I say you have to know your worth, right? So you see what other, maybe your rate is $50 this year. Next year it's $70, and that's what rate you should be charging, right? And that's how you need to set your own pace. Unlike if you're full-time, we added $2 for you for the whatever, right? No, it doesn't work. So yeah, so that's why I'm still a contractor right now. So
awesome, thank you. I see we have a hand up. Deji, please feel free.
So I've been applying for jobs, but I guess I feel like there's something I'm not doing right, because yes, I do have a CS background, but most of my tech background has just been for personal projects. I haven't really worked in a tech-based firm, but I do think I'm employable, if I can use those terms. So, I would appreciate some pointers, please. Thanks, guys.
So I'm sure Andrew might have more to say to it, but let me just, from my opinion, I think your branding matters. I don't know how you're branding yourself, how you're showcasing your skills to companies that you're sending your resume to, because what tech companies really want to see is your skills. They don't really care if you've done 6 years as a super engineer and whatever it is. They don't want to see that. What they want to see is your skill. What have you worked on? What kind of project have you done in the past few months or years, right? You mentioned you get an AWS certification. That's a big thing. Like that's the next thing now, and that's where many companies are going, the cloud, right? So how did you sell yourself on the paper that you presented to the company? Did you just put the education material there, or did you say, okay, I have an AWS certification? Even if it's your personal project, showcase it. I've worked with so and so with AWS by solving this problem. I've done this and this by solving that problem using the certification, some of the technologies that you use. Mention them. So that's how you can sell yourself, because from what I can hear you have, that's a really good skills that you have, and that's what employers are looking for. So I think what you just need to do is selling yourself, like showcasing your work. Shannon isn't back in the room now, so just to I guess repeat what the question he asked. So I guess for the guy who did a 6-month boot camp. So again, he's been working with the company now for 3 years. So after the 6-month boot camp, he came to the company, joined as a level 1 engineer. So 10 months after that, he got promoted to level 2. And then a year after that or so, he got promoted as a level 3. So because he's a hardworking guy, he's always learning new skills, pushing himself, so going beyond boundaries. So that's how he got to be a level 3 engineer. and he was a data analyst before, right? Doesn't involve a computer science degree. So yeah.
I just want to thank Ebenezer again. Like, honestly, the amount of information that you've given us is there's nothing you can equate to it. You've definitely set us off on the right path. And I feel like many a person will come back to this particular video on our YouTube channel, watch it, and then share it with other people.